I was about to bitch and whine about the literati for not paying any attention to the 2014 novel by Mr. Rabih Alameddine, An Unnecessary Woman, that I finished reading a couple of days ago, when I realized that it was indeed considered for the National Book Awards then. So it was me who should be blamed for being ignorant of what's happening in the world of literature. As for the book itself, it became an amazing reading experience, and there are multiple reasons why it became so endearing, close to my heart. And the first one, I think, is the way it was put together. Just to cite an example, so there was this book that I read, I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, which was dealing with a single person, and that reading experience invariably ended up into a disaster. And I was expecting that this book is also going in the same direction, because it was also dealing with the life of Mrs. Alia Saleh, who is in her 70s, living on her own as a recluse in Beirut, in Lebanon. So I was not really expecting for the best, but miraculously, it was not the case. So the next thing that I think really stood out was the narrative. So at least for the first initial 30-40 pages, the narrative was going in all different directions, and there were references to great writers and their respective works. I had to admit that I had absolutely no clue of many of those writers' names, so it's shame on me. And over the course of reading further, it kind of made sense to me that this is how the mind of an old woman, leave alone an old woman, the mind of anybody, a sane person, would work. The thoughts would meander here and there multiple times. And one more reason why it made sense was because that was the main vocation of this old woman. She was heavily into reading, she was heavily into music, she was heavily into doing translations, so she had to refer multiple books of great writers. So it's quite natural that it would come into the narrative. So there is absolutely no reason why somebody have to be apprehensive of why this was brought into. In fact, it's a brilliant ploy by the writer. As for the language, Mr. Rabih Alameddine nailed it. He's nothing short of a masterclass, if I may put it that way. His language is really outstanding, impeccable. There are instances where you could convey a message, instead of writing it in one full sentence, you could convey that in one single word and a period. That's it. So there are some instances where Mr. Rabih does that. And there was this wonderful comment that I received from one of the readers, that how efficiently has this writer, who is from a different age group altogether, had portrayed the thoughts of a woman, an old lady, a recluse, who is in a different age. Overall, it's an outstanding read about old age, solitude, and Beirut.